In May 2025, Human Rights Watch studied gig workers. Some took home $5.12 an hour. The villain is Uber's upfront pricing algorithm. It sets your pay alone, using your own data against you. That is not a base rate. That is a number built just for you, and it changes by the trip. For most of Uber's history, driver pay followed a rate card. Drivers earned a set amount per mile, plus a set amount per minute. Riders paid a separate, calculated fare. In 2016, Uber began upfront pricing, one fixed price the rider sees before booking, calculated apart from driver pay. Drivers get paid through a separate calculation the rider never sees. Two numbers from the same trip that no longer have to match. That gap is where the algorithm lives. Nothing forces the rider's price and the driver's pay to move together. The system sets both numbers, and it can widen the space between them however it wants. The algorithm behind that gap runs on personal data. It tracks your acceptance rate, how often you take a trip instead of declining it. It tracks where you drive, when you work, and how low an offer you'll take before you log off. Acceptance rate carries a consequence. Platforms can flag or deactivate drivers who decline too many trips. That risk pushes drivers toward accepting whatever price the algorithm offers, even when it's low. Platforms have a clear reason to personalize pay this way. A single, transparent rate card leaves money on the table if some drivers would accept less. An individualized rate does not. That data doesn't just route trips, it personalizes pay. Two drivers can run the identical route at the identical time and earn two different amounts. Meet Andre, 29, driving full-time in a mid-sized city. One night, he and another driver run the same airport pickup. Their pay comes back $4 apart, with nothing on the screen to explain why. This is different from ordinary surge pricing, which raises prices for everyone during high demand. This is personalized to one driver, on one trip, regardless of demand. Drivers get seconds to decide, watching a total fare and a countdown timer, not a breakdown of how that number was built. There's no button to ask why. There's no version of the app that shows what any other driver was offered for the same run. There is no manager to call and no form to submit. The only response the app allows is accept or decline. That unpredictability has a cost of its own. A driver can't budget against a number that moves every time they log in. Every shift starts as a guess, not a plan. This works because of how gig drivers are classified. In California, Proposition 22, a 2020 ballot measure, classified drivers as independent contractors, not employees. Independent contractors aren't covered by the wage laws a flat-rate employee would be. Lawyers have a term for this: algorithmic wage discrimination. The same job, paid differently to different workers, set by machine instead of negotiation. It is not a reward for good driving. It is a live test of how little each driver will accept. None of that is a guess. It is documented, beat by beat, starting with the researchers who went looking for it. None of this is speculation. 3 separate sources document the same pattern, gathered independently, years apart. A human rights investigation, a legal scholar, and the company's own record. Start with the investigation. In May 2025, Human Rights Watch published The Gig Trap, a study covering 7 major platforms, including Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash. Researchers interviewed 95 workers and surveyed 127 more, mostly in Texas. 6 of the 7 platforms, including Uber, paid workers through algorithms so opaque that drivers could not know what a job paid until after they accepted it. Only Amazon Flex still used a flat hourly rate. Surveyed workers earned about 30% below the federal minimum wage and roughly 70% below a living wage for their state. Workers described a second pressure sitting underneath the pay itself. In the survey, 65 workers said they feared being cut off from a platform entirely, and 40 said it had already happened to them. 3/4 said they struggled to afford housing. Human Rights Watch estimated a further cost to the public. Texas alone could have collected over $111 million in unemployment insurance between 2020 and 2022, if these companies had classified drivers as employees. The second proof comes from law, not journalism. In 2023, law professor Veena Dubal published on algorithmic wage discrimination in the Columbia Law Review. She named the exact mechanism. Platforms use personal data to generate pay that is unpredictable, variable, and personalized to each worker. Two people can do the same job and never know they were paid differently. Dubal's research ties this directly to Proposition 22. Once drivers were classified as contractors, she argues, the law stopped requiring a predictable wage at all. The algorithm filled the gap the classification created. Some legal scholars go further, arguing the practice may violate antitrust law by letting one algorithm set wages an open market never would. That argument has not yet succeeded in court, but it has shaped how regulators in several states now write gig work law. The third proof point is the company's own record, made public through lawsuits and an independent audit. In 2017, driver Martin Dulberg sued Uber over how upfront pricing calculated his pay. Uber settled the case in 2018, a documented pattern now nearly a decade old. Separately, researchers audited 1.5 million trips from 258 UK drivers, covering 2016 through 2024. Average pay per hour had barely moved since 2016, and it was lower in the year after Uber rolled out dynamic pricing. Drivers also spent more time waiting unpaid for a job to appear, while Uber's own share of each fare went up. The audit also found the story wasn't identical for every driver. A small share earned more per hour after the change, most did not, and the spread between the two groups kept widening. Uber disputes that its algorithm discriminates between drivers. The documented pattern, personalized pay, opaque calculation, a rising company share has shown up in a human rights investigation, an academic legal study, and the company's own trip data. So here is what you actually know now. That $5.12 number was never a fluke of a slow week. It's what a fixed rate card would have prevented, and what upfront pricing was built to make possible. Andre's $4 gap was never about how he drives. It was about what the algorithm calculated he'd accept that night, on that route, at that hour. Every driver logging into the same app receives a different version of the same job. The rate on your screen isn't a wage, it's a live estimate of your floor. That distinction matters because of what it replaces. A rate card can be published, compared, and negotiated. A personalized algorithm cannot. By design, no two drivers can compare their numbers and know what they're seeing. The classification that makes this legal in California has not changed. The algorithm did not create the gap in the law. It simply moved into the space that gap left open. The pay isn't the only pressure. The same algorithm can end your access to work entirely, and there's no posted reason required. None of this required a conspiracy. It required only two things: your data and no requirement to show you how it was used. Every trip you accept teaches the algorithm your floor a little better. Human Rights Watch documented the bottom of that range. Veena Dubal documented the legal name for it. Uber's own trip data documented the trend line, moving the same direction as the other two. You are not most gig workers anymore. You know the algorithm has a name, a legal definition, and a court case attached to it. You know it has a report, a professor, and a number: $5.12. The next time that app shows you a number before a trip, it will look ordinary. A price, a route, a button marked accept. It will not look like your own history, priced back to you in real time. But that is exactly what it is. You just know how to read the number now. If an algorithm can calculate your rent down to the dollar, it can calculate your paycheck the same way. We already traced this exact playbook once, in a different market, priced by a different company. Same personalized math, a different number attached to your name. Watch that one next.